Colossal, 2016 film starring Anne Hathaway, Jason Sudeikis, Tim Blake Nelson, and Dan Stevens. I vividly remember when it first was coming out. I saw the trailer and decided based on it that I'm probably gonna pass. The setup, as shown in the trailer, was that the mysterious, huge Godzilla-like monster starts appearing in Seoul for a few minutes at a time, causing widespread panic and destruction. And across the globe, in a small town in the USA, Anne Hathaway's character, who is a currently unemployed writer that went back to her hometown after relationship issues to sort herself out, get a break from drinking and partying and the constant alcohol, and maybe find a job as well. Her character discovers that inexplicably she's actually controlling the monster's movements. She needs to be at a very precise spot in the little town and at a very precise time of day for reasons initially unknown, but her movements are 100% replicated by the giant beast. So the trailer showed that, which looked like spoiling a major plot twist, and Jason Sudeikis, who would have some funny banter with Hathaway, clearly setting up a romantic interest. The suggested tone was slightly lighthearted, slightly comedic, and when I saw it, I was like, yeah, I'm not that interested. I'm probably gonna skip this film in theaters. And then much later, I began to see comments from people on the internet who approached the film in a similar way that I did, but then for various reasons went back and actually saw it, and now they couldn't recommend it enough. Supposedly it was actually really good and also quite different than maybe expected. So I finally caved and I put it on my watch list, and now I did see it, and I have to say these people were absolutely right. The film is different than you'd expect, and it is brilliant. Now, I won't spoil the actual details of the story that are revealed as it goes on, but I do want to give you a general idea of what the film actually is, because it decidedly is not a romantic comedy, nor is it a quirky little funny film. It's a film that uses a rather outlandish concept with the monster to offer a really solid commentary on addiction to alcohol, but not just, to the way addiction makes us hurt us, not ourselves, but also the people around us, without us often realizing what's going on. That's one of the two main things that's going on, that parallel between Anne Hathaway's drinking and the monster rampages. But there's also another layer to it as well, which has to do with relationships. Colossal offers an, I thought, incredible look into toxic relationships and the fucked up ways that people, in this case men, can gaslight and misdirect their partners to believe they're the ones at fault, whereas the reality is completely different. It shows this mechanism of throwing up this smokescreen of nice gestures that is supposed to mask the selfishness, the greed, and in general the horrible behavior. I think the most brilliant thing that the film does is it establishes three different characters as potential romantic interests for Anne Hathaway. And yet, as the film goes on, you realize that all three of them are fucking awful to her, and for quite different reasons depending on each one. And it's amazing to me that this ploy worked so well, especially for me as a man, that by the end of the movie I was Team Hathaway all the way, and I was just thinking, you go girl, but whatever you do, forget about these assholes, they don't deserve you. And it's even more incredible because when you think, you have to think about the fact that Hathaway herself starts from the position of an unlikable protagonist. So she's very flawed, far from being this perfect girl that anybody should aspire to conquer. But for all of her flaws, you begin to realize that they do not excuse the behavior that she's facing from the different men in her life. I think that the whole way that these dynamics are handled is just impressive, and again, so surprising that the film goes so hard in the direction of this fairly biting and raw commentary on relationships and addictions. The one thing that I criticize is that the story, in terms of its mechanics, takes a bit of a shortcut in the final act, where it simplifies the timeline of what's going on a little bit in order to get to where it needs to be. But I'm willing to forgive it because it's a minor thing that serves to complete the story in a very satisfying way. And also, the final ending of it all, the last shot of the film, cherry on top. Loved the film. I will now join the camp of the people that have been recommending it left and right to everybody. Just pay in mind, it's not a light-hearted funny comedy, but rather a dramedy with sci-fi elements that really serve almost purely as a metaphor. And as this thing, Colossal is brilliant.